the best cities for van life travel. Now, I have a full-up friend who requested this topic because him and his wife are traveling across America, coast to coast, in a custom-built van, which is very exciting. And they asked me to share some insight as to how to travel in between cities or from city to city. I'm grateful that people want to learn from my experience. It's Thursday, January 20th, and it's a good day to be alive. Ready for the big reveal? The best cities for van life. There is no best city for van life. It is entirely dependent on the type of van life that you want to do and your own temperament. I mentioned this in last week's video, but it's worth repeating again. Every city in America is going to come with its unique set of challenges in terms of van life. But that being said, you can visit every city in America, but that doesn't necessarily mean you can stay in that city doing van life. Let me explain. If you are traveling across America, especially if you're doing van life, visiting the cities, you are going to be grouped together with the homeless. Now, I don't necessarily think that should be the case. Like, I never felt homeless while I was traveling across America, living in a vehicle. However, a lot of people carry that belief. I don't know why. Maybe it's because...
And I live in a van down by the river.
I have a friend who lives in a sailboat. Nobody considers him homeless. He travels by boat and the world gives him an identity, that of being a sailor. If you travel the world by doing van life, your identity is more akin to that of homeless. Like, I'll give you another example. If you travel across country, across America, in an RV, society says, that's okay. You get the stamp of approval. If you do the exact same road trip by means of traveling in a car, and living in that car, or by means of doing van life, it's a lot less okay. There's no real logical coherency. It's just more based off what society thinks is okay and what society expects from you.
Because it's all part of the plan.
Now, why do I bring up this association between vehicle dwelling and homelessness? Is because if you run into any problems whatsoever with authority figures, police officers, or whatever.
Sorry to wake you, okay?
It's okay.
Here's the issue, okay? We've been asked by management. He wishes to have you trespass from this location, okay?
That is more likely than not how they will view you. And the reason this is important is because many cities in America have local ordinances that make homelessness or being homeless a crime. And it doesn't matter if you don't consider you homeless while doing van life. A large segment of society does. Okay, now back to this topic. Broadly speaking, there were two types of van life that I did. Numero uno. The first type of van life that I did was van life to save money. I used my van as like a tiny home, like a mini apartment. And I would go about my everyday business as many people would. You know, I worked a regular job or jobs, and I literally just used the van in order to sleep. I essentially just did van life to bypass paying rent. And as a result, I got out of debt. I enrolled in night school. I expanded my education. I had enough time and resources to start my own business. I could make meaningful changes in my life doing this type of van life. The second type of van life I did was van life for travel. Now, I don't like to do van life in cities, but if you follow me on Instagram, then you know pre-pandemic I used to travel to those cities all the time. Now, how did I do it? Easy. I'll reveal my trick to you. I used surrounding areas. In my experience, I just found that doing van life within the city limits was way more stressful and not necessarily worth it. Like everything, not only was everything so far apart, but everything was a lot more expensive. Whether or not I wanted to do laundry, whether or not I wanted to buy some food, parking, it was just, I just don't think it was worth the stress. So what I would always end up doing is I would stay in neighboring towns to the cities. Now, how would that look like? Easy. Now, let's say, for example, I'm craving New York style street food. Ketchup and mustard. Thank you. I was just told that this is the best hot dog in New York City. Yay. So, pretty good. Thanks, guys. Or I'm craving dollar pizza. So I want to spend a week in New York City. I have found that it's easier to do van life in certain parts of New Jersey and then commute into New York City than doing van life in New York City itself. Also, driving the van in New York City is a bit of a nightmare. Not only because of traffic, but finding parking, and depending on the size of your vehicle, certain parking garages will be out of the question due to the height restrictions. So if you do van life in New Jersey and you want to visit New York City, there are several options and alternatives available. You can take the bus, the train, you can take the ferry, you can take the subway. One last example is every time I visit Las Vegas, I don't do the car dwelling or the van life in Las Vegas. I will stay in one of the neighboring towns. Last time I went, I stayed in a town called Henderson, again, neighboring town, and I visited Las Vegas almost every day. The short answer is that van life in cities, especially for long periods of time, it can be very stressful and it can get very expensive. I mean, it's a lot less than paying rent. When I visit the north end of Boston, for example, I have friends who live there, and we were touring the city. It cost me just shy of $300 to park my van there every day for 2 weeks. My friends who live there year-round, their rent is $3,600 a month for a studio apartment. And during the time that I was there, I got to do all the things they got to do for a fraction of the cost. That is the biggest benefit of van life travel, or any type of vehicle dwelling, in my opinion. The fact that you can do so much with so little capital investment. Like, your dollar stretches so far, and I know I would not have been able to do as much as I've done if it wasn't for vehicle dwelling. Like, take it from someone who's been to almost every state. Traveling gives you the opportunity to develop something that no amount of money can buy. And that's self-confidence. What you gain from traveling is greater than the costs involved. It's greater than the sacrifice. The more experiences you have, the more informed your life decisions will be. I'm going to end today's video with a quick story. I was working as a bartender in the city while doing van life, and I had to commute into the city every day because of the factors I just mentioned. And I had this colleague, and I, we worked the same amount of shifts, and at the end of every night we would pool out tips, and therefore we'd split what we made evenly between us. But the key difference was he was sacrificing 2 weeks out of every month working just to afford rent to stay in the city. And this was still before his other bills like gas, utilities, cell phone bill, food, He used to ask me if I was willing to split something on the menu with him. No, I don't split food.
Joey doesn't share food!
No, order your own damn burger. My colleague told me that he felt trapped. Like he felt he was doing too much just to survive in the city. And I told him, it's not that you're doing too much. It's that you're doing too little of what makes you feel alive. Listen, the cost of a dream, nay, the cost of anything is the amount of life that you're willing to sacrifice for it. And if you're sacrificing your life for something, please, do it for something you actually care about. Do it for something that will make it worth it for you. Society and its expectations of you will always be there, but what you want for your life won't be. I mean, your life will end, your dreams will die, and your ability to pursue that which gives your life meaning will diminish over time. Therefore, it's in your best interest to pursue that now, while you still can. At the end of the day, when people made fun of me for living in a vehicle, it mattered less to me because I knew why I was doing it. I knew that as a result of this sacrifice, my whole life will be better. I got to pursue my dream. I got to travel. I got to experience the world. I got to live. Go live. Go choose your sacrifice. Your life depends on it.